I might not feel like excited to put out this episode. I don't know if I'm excited or not, to be honest, because sometimes I don't even think about my motivation or my desire. Sometimes I just think about the discipline and just putting in the work.
Most hosts never achieve the results they hoped for. They're falling short on listenership and monetization, meaning their message isn't being heard and their show ends up costing them money. This podcast was created to help you grow your listenership and make money while you're at it. Get ready to take notes. Here's your host, Adam Adams.
What's up, podcaster? It's your host, Adam A. Adams, and we are talking about motivation. Is that enough? Discipline. What's the difference? And this is a theme that continues to come up. In fact, I would say that I've gotten clips of, what's that guy's name? He used to be really heavy set. He's a black guy, bald guy. He was in the army. I can't remember his name right now, but David Goggins. So he's just an inspiration to me. I've been watching him for a long time, and he cusses and he's like, look, your motivation, right? And it's really discipline that you need. Another guy that I follow, his name is Huberman, Andrew Huberman. He works at Stanford. He's a doctor, I think of neuroscience. Perhaps it's neuroscience. Point is, he's a brilliant guy, really relatable, and everything that he talks about is based on evidence. He's somebody that most of us follow. I think a lot of us know who David Goggins is. I think a lot of us know who Andrew Huberman is. Andrew Huberman, he doesn't cuss. I mean, not that I know of on any of his recordings, probably because he works at Stanford and he needs to uphold something. Anyway, he's really relatable. And he's talking about, hey, really, motivation comes and goes. Motivation is fleeting. Motivation doesn't get you everywhere. What if on that day you're not motivated? There is something else you need. And he talks about it's discipline. And another famous person talks about this as well. He's he's also bald. He's muscly, Joe Rogan. So he worked with the MMA and he's got his podcast and all of that. And I think he tries to sell Alpha Brain. Anyway, he has some really good content that comes out. It's like 3-hour interviews with different people. And he also talks about how it's really not motivation, it's discipline. And because this has come up so much, it takes me back to some memories over the last recent years. Now, when I turned 40 a couple of years ago, I wanted to make sure that when I was 40, I was in the absolute best shape of my life. I wanted to look better than I had ever looked in my whole life. And so at 40, I hired a coach and I was motivated at first. I was motivated. And then it became kind of like just part of my schedule. I rarely felt motivated anymore, but I still did it. I still put in the work, but it wasn't not motivation. It was discipline. And here's the thing. People were like, oh my gosh, I wish that I had your motivation. And I say the same thing as David Goggins, Andrew Huberman, Joe Rogan. I say, look, you're trying to tell me that I always want to go to the gym. They're like, oh, I just wish I liked going to the gym as much as you. What? Oh, I just wish that I was motivated like you. What? It has nothing to do with wanting to go to the gym. It has really very little to do with your feelings about that. And it goes to something called discipline. And this is going to apply to your business. This is going to apply to your health. And this is absolutely going to apply to your podcast. Discipline versus motivation. So I got my 6-pack. For the first time in my life, they weren't covered up by a layer of fat. And it was when I was 40 and I needed it to happen while I was still 40. And it did happen. And then I hired another coach for a year and it got for bodybuilding. And the truth is, you couldn't count in that 1 year working with my bodybuilding coach. You could not count how many days that I would rather not be going to the gym, that I would rather not be eating the meals, the exact same meals every single day that he told me to eat. I wanted to just be like, do I actually have to take these supplements every day? Do I actually have to eat this many meals a day? Do I actually have to cut this much? Do I actually have to feel grumpy when I was cutting the fat? And like at the end of a bodybuilding, right before the show, you are a grump. And I had a plan. I had a desire to compete in a bodybuilding show. And like I said, you couldn't count the amount of times that I didn't want to go. I just didn't feel like it. I was already sore from the last couple of days. I was still sore on muscles that I needed to work out today. I was tired because I went to the gym at 10:30 p.m. and I already had a long day. I was tired because the only time I could do it the next morning, I get home at midnight from 10:30. I get home after midnight and I got to wake up at 6:30 and go back to the gym again. I didn't always want to do it, but I was disciplined. I said, hey, doesn't matter how I feel. I'm just going to do it. And that goes along with David Goggins, Andrew Huberman, and Joe Rogan. That's exactly what they talk about. And all of this stuff can apply to your business. All this stuff can apply to your podcast. I don't know how to explain it. Yes, I do like recording these podcast episodes. However, like before I do it, I realize that I've already recorded like 400 episodes that have published on this podcast. And I'm like, in some ways, isn't 400 enough? Do I really got to do another one? These things cross my mind just as much as they cross your mind. And it's the discipline. It's like, I might not feel like excited to put out this episode. I don't know if I'm excited or not, to be honest, because sometimes I don't even think about my motivation or my desire. Sometimes I just think about the discipline and just putting in the work. David Goggins, I don't remember how much he weighed. I'm going to take a random guess, 350 pounds. Whatever it was, he was a big guy. He looked strong. I'll give you that much. He looked like he could still push some weight, but he absolutely looks like he's in the mid 300s in some of these pictures. And he got to where he I guess he set a world record in pull-ups. But here he is one day where he's like, there's this video of him. And he goes, I was like you. I was just like you. I didn't always want to do it. I didn't always feel like it. And you know what I had to tell myself? Quit being a little bitch, right? Quit being a little bitch. I don't know if that offends anyone. So if I offended you, I'm sorry. I'm just really quoting. But for him, he's basically saying we control our freaking destiny. You can control how much money you make. You control your health. You control your relationships around you. A lot more than you think you do. The world doesn't happen to you. It happens with you. In many ways, it happens for you, but it happens with you. You're along for the ride. You are making tweaks and changes, and you can tweak and change how much you weigh. You can tweak and change if you've got abs. You can tweak and change like David Goggins, how many pull-ups he could do. You could tweak and change like many of these other influencers. It's not motivation, it's discipline. So it'll happen with your podcast. It'll happen with your business. It'll happen with your health. It'll happen with your relationships or whatever it is that you're looking to improve. The other day, this episode's about to be done. This is like my last story. The other day, I keep posting. As of yesterday, I got 125 days in a row of a consistent streak of practicing Spanish on an app called Duolingo. I downloaded the app. I paid a little extra for the app so that I don't have to have any commercials and I can do a little bit more. I can do more lessons per day. I don't know, probably out of the 125 days that I've been in a row, I've published probably more than 100 times. So it's like every 3 or 4 or 5 days a week, I will still consistent practicing Spanish. And there's this gentleman, great gentleman, just somebody that I look up to, admire, and respect. He does a lot of good things, except for this one thing. When I was more of an influencer in the real estate investing place, he kept posting, oh man, I wish I was doing real estate investing. Or, oh man, I wish I had an apartment like that. And then when I start publishing about like my health journey, when I got to the 6-pack from my dad weight, I wasn't quite 350 pounds, but I was 220 pounds. I was pretty chunky and for myself, and I didn't look that great. I did not look healthy. My face didn't look healthy. My gut certainly didn't look healthy. And I decided to make a change. And this guy's like following. He's like, man, I'm going to work out one day. Hey, man, you're really inspiring me. I want to do this one day. He keeps saying that. And then I start putting about real estate. He did it about my fitness journey and now about Spanish. And he's like, oh, I've always wanted to learn Spanish. And I kept rolling my eyes. Here I am just rolling my eyes. I'm like, this guy, I mean, just freaking do it, man. If that's what you want, if what you want is a better business, if what you want is a podcast, if what you want is to increase your podcast, if what you want is 6-pack abs, if what you want is learning Spanish, then all you really have to do is download Duolingo for free and start practicing. And so it was something that was in my head the whole time. And I never said it out loud. I feel horrible. Why didn't I just say something sooner? After the dozens and dozens of times that he was like, this is so awesome that you're doing this. I wish I could do that. I finally said, brother, what is stopping you from just downloading the app that I use and just start practicing this afternoon? And he thought about it. I see the dots going and then they stop. And then, because this is on Facebook Messenger, because I had posted something on Facebook and he replied to that. And the dots start coming back and then they fade out. You can see that he's deleting. You can assume that he's rethinking what he's writing. And then the dots come again, and then they stop. And then a fourth time, the dots start coming. And he said, I just downloaded it and I'm going to start today. And that's what you can do. Discipline versus motivation. I guess I should say versus motivation, because there's a lot of purists out there that hate. They're like, it's not verse, it's versus. I just say verse because it's fast. Discipline versus motivation. You can just start right now. You can just focus on that right now. If you want to change your diet, if you want to change how much you're moving in a day, if you want to change how much money you make, if you want to change your podcast, if you want to start a podcast, if you want to improve a podcast, if you want to market your podcast, if you want to get more clients, it's discipline, even when you don't have the motivation. And that's a way to real success. Just let you know real fast before we jump off that every other episode is a solo episode like this one. And on the opposites, it's an interview episode. This one was super duper short. I'm sure you got time to listen to another episode, and I've got somebody great that I interviewed. I don't want you to miss it. So instead of jumping off the podcast, just stay tuned and I'll see you on the next episode. You're not alone if you're ready to either get your very first affordable microphone or if you're ready to upgrade your equipment to some legit podcasting studio equipment. Because on all of the forums over the last few months, I'm seeing this all the time. Even my own personal clients that work with my team, they're ready to get that next microphone. They're asking us for it. Additionally, when I'm on discovery calls with potential clients, they're always asking for this stuff. Hey, what mic do you recommend? Hey, what lighting do you recommend? What webcam should I be using? So many questions. And so what we did, my whole team has put together a PDF so that if you're one of those people who is looking to either get your very first affordable microphone, or if you're ready to upgrade your equipment to more professional podcast studio equipment, whether it's soundproofing or whatever, we've got you covered by going to growyourshow.com/PDF. And you can download the PDF for free, or right there on the webpage is everything that you would have, and you don't need to download the PDF. Either way, just go to growyourshow.com/PDF, which will put you to the podcasting equipment that me and my team have personally vetted. I'll see you on the next episode.